Hello, I'm Matt Burton, and I am from Rusty Monkey, and I am trying to do well.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to do an example of people being bad on camera.
Well, you've succeeded.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's funny because I don't think I'm very good when I'm trying not to be bad on camera either. So
I'm trying to work out all the negatives in that sentence. Are you trying to not be good at?
I'm not trying to be bad at what I'm normally pretty bad at.
Yeah, so we're trying to give you some hints and tips about how to get your message across on camera. If you're about to be interviewed, or the different styles you can use to help you put your message across, really.
Yeah, because it can be tough and it can be daunting and it can be overwhelming, and especially if you've not done it very much. So it's a bit of a crash course in media training.
Yes.
Matt and Chris on Monkey Monday. Boom.
And there's two real ways of you getting your message across to the audience at home. And the main two are speaking down the lens, which is a skill in itself, and speaking to an interviewer. So let's have a look at the first one, speaking down the lens. A lot of people try to write a script for a start, and then it becomes really tricky, I think, because you've either got to go down the route of having a prompter, which are pretty easy to buy, but it's really difficult to come across as natural because you're constantly trying to keep up with this thing. And having worked in TV for many years, there's plenty of professional TV presenters who can't do it. So if you're just trying to create a video for yourself, it's hard.
Yeah, and I think if you're working with an agency or someone who's creating a video for you, if you're going down that road and that's the kind of that's the brief that we're going for, and you want that talking directly to the person down the camera, and you're using a prompter, we'd probably recommend that the script that is written, rewrite it in your own voice as much as you're allowed to do that, because if you're reading someone else's narrative, that's really hard. I mean, that's like newsreader territory, isn't it? It's difficult, and even the pros can struggle with it. So changing it into the way you speak is really key, and make it as conversational as you can.
Yeah,
is a hint.
It's amazing how different the written language is to actually how you speak. And if you practice reading out loud, then you'll find the places where the tricky words are, or the tricky sections of sentences are,
yeah,
which you're going to fluff.
And if you are reading from a prompter, read ahead
Yeah.
as much as you can. And really from a technical perspective, if you're doing the technical stuff, get it as kind of close to the camera as you can, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's Amazon prompters out there. Well, there's prompters from crazy brands on Amazon that you put in front of your iPhone or camera lens, and it will look as if you're looking down the camera. They're pretty cheap, and they're also pretty good, but you need to get some decent prompting software. I saw a video online by a guy called Gerald Undone who gave some really good tips on how to read a prompter, but he had his prompter going at a continuous speed. So in my head, it'd be like, oh Christ, I've got to read at this certain speed all the way through. But I found some prompting software, which I'll put a link to below, which listens to your voice and recognises where you are, so it will speed up and slow down as to how fast it needs to scroll. And it's a real skill, so before you go into that recording session, you need to have rehearsed quite a bit.
Yeah, and you might find you fail, or you come across really wooden, and that's fairly normal. So there's other ways you can do down the lens though, right? There's other ways. You don't have to be reading from a thing.
No, you can do what we're doing now. Pulling it out of our ass.
Riffing it.
Just riffing.
So if you want to come across as ropey as us, then just riff it out.
But then it comes across authentic though, doesn't it?
Yes. However, we do have a handful of notes down here on a laptop, which we sometimes look at and sometimes we ignore. But it kind of helps us get through the salient points. So if you're doing a keynote, for example, it's the same skill. You might just have a handful of slides and things that help you remember the points you're trying to get across. And if you know your material, you should be okay, which we sometimes do and sometimes don't.
Well, there is that. But the thing about our notes is they're like 3 words to remember what the next section is, because you might be able to look away from the camera lens for a tiny bit and go, oh, actually, this is the 3 words. But some people write their script miles away, and you can't do that and remember something and then look back at the camera. So just keep any notes really short. But the other way you can appear in front of camera is by speaking to an interviewer, which means you're not speaking down the lens, you're speaking to someone next to the camera. And it's often easier because the person stood next to the camera it can just be prompting you, giving you questions, and that is quite an easy thing to do. But you've got to try not to overthink your answers. You sort of got to answer them like you're not really on camera, I think.
I mean, if we do that more sort of documentary feely type of video, then often the person we might be interviewing says, can I have the questions in advance? And we rarely give them it because they then go away and they rehearse their answers, and it becomes a much less authentic experience and voice. And so you might want to consider that as well, is if you're in the hot seat, if you like, and you are being interviewed, don't stress it. Don't try and get the questions beforehand. Don't try and do too much prep, because you'll end up in a self-editing kind of mindset, and that's really challenging to get out of once you get stuck in that.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to partner with your interviewer and get them to prompt you in good ways. Like a good question or a good thing to say before you answer would be describe how you worked with X, Y, and Z, rather than what do you think about cheese, or
Yes.
It's just to give you something really open to be able to work with is really good.
Yeah, and if you're involved at any point with the sort of question side of things, you need to ask those open questions, don't you, and try and avoid questions that have a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
So questions that start with why are good. Questions that starts with describe are good, or statements that start with describe. Sometimes as well, a good interview technique, I'm going the other side of the camera here a little bit, is to start a sentence and try and get the person who's being interviewed to finish the sentence. So if you're in the seat there as well, you might have to sort of start a sentence well by saying, well, I did start the company in such and such, rather than it was started in 1990, whatever. So making sure you get those bits that start your answer well is important. And also, try not to go on too long.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things to remember, but one of the most important things is to relax. We've been doing vlogging for 3 or 4 years now, and we're reasonably comfortable in front of camera, and I hope that sort of comes across. But if you fluff or anything, you can cover up the fluffs and take out ums and ahs with what we call in the industry like B-roll or cutaways. Like if we fluff in any of this, you might see some pictures of some cats or something relevant. I wonder what that would be. But you just cut away, it's fine. Everyone's used to that grammar of television. You're not expected to speak on camera for 10 minutes straight without fluffing a line here and there.
Yeah, and even ums and ahs, we generally would keep them in depending on the piece, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I guess the advice is when you are in that hot seat and you're answering the questions, the biggest bit of advice is to relax and take your time when you sort of get to the end of wanting to finish what you're saying, so that you can give a meaningful ending.
Is that the meaningful ending?
It was kind of my attempt, yeah, but it wasn't very good.
No, it's very good.
Thank you very much.
It's a meaningful ending. This is where things pop up over our faces.
Ooh, what's over my face now?
Table tennis bat?